Thank you for joining us. I'm super excited. And today, actually, we're going to look at Spark from the wellness point of view. We're going to explore the wellness labs part of Spark, and we're going to run a few prompts. We're going to do a few introspective insights of what can we do as far as Spark is concerned, as far as the labs are concerned, and we're going to discuss the results. So with that, let's get started. And your guide today is going to be myself, and I'm Anca Platon Trifan. I have been in events for 20 something years, been running the production, technology, and AI side. I'm also a bodybuilding competitor, so I'm very much into fitness, wellness, and I bring a lot of insights from my personal training as well as all the coaching that I've been doing for actual clients in the fitness and wellness space. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to my co-host.
Hi, everyone. I'm David T. Stevens. I am the co-founder and wellness architect at a company called Olympian Meeting, the world's only wellness sports events agency. And I'm also the PCMA Northern California chapter president-elect. Very exciting. We're going to talk about the 4Ms of event wellness, as well as the Fit for Events framework. We'll kick off with the Fit for Events framework, and I'll hand it back to Anca. Thank you for being here. Anca, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this.
Thank you. I know this looks funny that we have to pass the mic, but this is the only option we have. So, think with us. So when I think on the Fit for Events framework, when I first was thinking of all the things that I do in the technology space, in the wellness space, in the AI space, I felt like there's a need for something to put all these feelers to have an umbrella that kind of defines what this is. And the best thing I could come up with was Fit for Events, which stands for futuristic AV production, because I am looking at how can we use the latest cutting edge technology to make sure that we support accessibility at events. Then we're looking at innovative AI technology, because as we all know, AI has been definitely a disruptor in our space. So we want that to be our superpower, to be able to leverage it to our advantage. And then audiences, we want those experiences that we create to result in an audience that is engaged, energized, and satisfied. And then in power teams, this is when we're looking at ourselves, leading ourselves well so that we can also lead our teams, so we can lead others.
We talk about the 4Ms of wellness, which is mindfulness, movement, meaning, and meals. It says meals and meaning, whatever, same. But mindfulness, initially, you're going to think meditation, that kind of thing. But in actuality, when we think about mindfulness, we think about being mindful of the event participant. What are we asking of them? Are we asking them what wellness is? Or are we telling them what we think wellness is to them? But really being mindful of their experience, what they're going through, and what we're asking of them to give at an event: time, sleep, etc. When we talk about movement, we really like to leverage the physiological benefits of movement and the fact that when you move, it is good for your health. It is good for your brain. It is good for cognitive function, and giving people the opportunity to get that movement in their day, whether it's naturally architect or just giving them time to go get movement in the way that they want to experience it. With meals, we all know the power of food. And if you fuel people properly, I mean, how many people have had like a heavy pasta at lunch? And then what's your attention span after lunch? So meals is pretty straightforward. We all know. I think one of the other things that we often overlook is the importance of protein and ADHD. I'm sorry, what? How do those two things connect? Well, there's actually a lot of studies in children that kids who have a high protein breakfast get higher grades in school, because the protein fuels their brain, fuels their ability to pay attention. And I discovered this because I had a software engineer I worked with when I was an internal corporate planner, who told me that when he had a high protein breakfast, he didn't need his ADD meds. I was like, okay, I think about food differently. And lastly, meaning. Meaning is so important. Meaning is about connecting people to something bigger than themselves, but that doesn't necessarily by default mean CSR. It can also mean connecting with their teams in a way that's meaningful. This can be in the corporate landscape. This can even mean OKR, creating objective and key results, for those of you that aren't familiar with the term OKR, but building that with their team so that everybody feels accountable to the team throughout the rest of the year during the class.
I think the reason why we're bringing this up is because when we are going to run a few AI prompts and use the labs, we want to frame it within the context of what we understand wellness and how do we want to apply it. And that's where the human in the loop, that's the human supervision comes into place. So that being said, we're going to get started. Chris, have you used Spark before? So this is your first time into Spark? Okay. You might not have the full intro into Spark, what it does and what it's not. That was part of a few different presentations. I think there's a few other ones that are coming up. If you really want a breakdown of all the features of how do you get started, how do you optimize your use of it, and how can you actually make the best of it. So when I think of a Spark and AI, I'm also thinking about tools that can support your planning. I'm curious, do you use any AI in general at all?
She said,
So this then might be a great session for you because we'll show you how you can use Spark and its power to use it for events if you haven't done it before. So just a few fun things about Spark. One, it's been built by event professionals for event professionals. It's been trained on a data set that is very specific to events. It's continuously learning, which means that the more you use it, the better it gets. It's kind of like this intern that the intern that you bring in, and at first you ask them to do all these things, but they don't know the way you want them to do things. So they have to learn. So the same way you can think of AI in general, but also Spark. And then it's private by default. Why is that important? Because, for example, if you were to use ChatGPT, and if you do not pay for a pro plan, you're paying with your data. Very obvious, but not to everyone. There's no data harvesting. There's a lot of LLMs out there that will use that free tier data in order to harvest all your knowledge, your data sets to train their models further. And when it comes to enterprise-based security, you basically get the same protections with the and the standard. So that's something to keep in mind, especially if you have clients. Like, for example, when I work with my clients in the pharma space, they're very, very particular about their security. So they would not allow any use of AI unless it's approved at the highest level because they're afraid of security breaches and whatnot. Okay. And with that, a few other things about Spark. There's a lot of things that you can do. There's 150 preset tasks. So like, for example, if you don't, I'm here on the platform and I'm looking around, I'm like, I don't know what to do here. It already has a lot of things that are already pre-built that you can run. You can already, it's kind of like having a menu. You go to a restaurant you've never been to before and you're like, I don't know what to eat here because I never read the reviews, but you have the menu and then that kind of gets you started. So you want to start there. Also, there's no need for prompt engineering. A lot of platforms do really good if you are able to prompt well. So that can be a stopper for a lot of people because they're like, I'm not a prompt engineer. I don't know how to use it. And then the results that you generate very much depend right on your ability to use AI, but not so much with Spark. So that's kind of like our very basic intro into Spark, but hopefully it gives you a bit of an understanding of what can do for you. And we'll just get into the 4 labs, which is the purpose of this one demo. The Spark Labs advantage, and those are little previews of what that looks like in Spark. And I'm gonna switch screens into the next one for you to get understanding tools that will be presented. The first one is an designer, and that helps session ideas based on event details, demographics, and budget. We have the healthy catering and hydration planner, and that builds food and beverage plans, restrictions around preferences, and as well as cost. And we have the movement breaks and break scheduler, favorite of David's. It serves energizer moments and physical breaks into the agenda that is very much tailored to the venue space as well as the audience size. And then the last one we'll try to touch on based on time is interactive wellness activities Curator, which designs engagement-driven activities within a budget, preset budget that you can set, and then also within the space constraints that you have. Sounds good? Okay. All right. So let's get started with the first one, which is the one that's here, session design. And this is where I just want to finish with the fact that you can create a very diverse session option based on your event information. And it can be anywhere from like a beginner friendly to an advanced option. It can be equipment free to tech heavy. It can be something that only happens in the morning versus the afternoon. I'm going to switch screens to actually take us to my mouse here. There you go. So in Spark, the first thing you see when you're in Spark you're in a home, right? In a home place. And this is the ability to create things based on your need. You can get started with things. We are going to navigate. I'm not going to cover any of this because that would take all the time that we have. So we're just going to go into the labs. This is the section that I highlighted. And out of the labs, we're really going to cover only those wellness, healthy wellness, movement, and interactive. You can do way more in the labs than just that. But this is for the purpose of our demo. It's what we're going to start with. So I already actually ran a few prompts. So we're going to go back to that and go here to home, which I've already favorited. And we're going to start with the wellness session. And this is what we did. There's a lot of content that's been run. And the reason why I did this is because I wasn't sure how the Wi-Fi was going to perform. So what we did, we came up with this one conference, this event, convening computers. It was his idea, play on the convening leaders. So do you want to describe a little bit what we came up with?
Yeah. So we thought we would start with a known entity, given this is PCMA. Why not call it convening contributors instead of leaders for entry level people, right? It's maybe PCMA will adopt it and it'll be a new like student education program. I don't know. Anyways, so we put event duration. That's in days. It doesn't say it. We kind of had to figure that out. We're like, is this hours? Is this days? Is it weeks? Is it? So we just put 3. And then for the attendee demographic, we tried to be as specific as possible. So in here, we put entry-level event professionals, association planners. Essentially, we put entry-level at the beginning and then took all the demographics of convening meetings. But if you're a conference or event organizer, you know who's attending. Then we put in the Tulsa Convention Center. We just picked a convention center randomly. And then we put in the wellness focus was balanced approach. That's actually a drop-down menu. Yeah. So you can choose different things from it. As you can see, stress reduction, mindfulness, energy boost, etc. And then for the budget, we didn't quite know what budget meant. We thought it might be for the wellness portion, or it could be for the entire conference. We weren't totally sure. So we put in $200K as a starting point. This is labs, right? So it's new. So we knew we had to test it out a little bit. So we just threw in $250K, and this will be very apparent when we get to meals, as it will tell you how it's actually budgeting. So that's what we did for budget. Do you want me to continue on?
Yeah.
So then it started putting things together for us. It came up with a session type, and it came up with a duration of 75 minutes, which we're like, oh, that's long. I don't know that that's the best session type. Then it talked about the times to do it, 10:30 to 11:45. And I was like, oh, it's building a wellness session right in the middle of when your brain is at its sharpest for learning. Probably not the best. Maybe it should be shifted early. I think the big takeaway here, and we see a few more of those opportunities for training. Anca was talking about it being an intern or an assistant. It only knows what it knows. It doesn't know what it doesn't know. So this is an opportunity. Kind of AI in general is still a child and it needs some adult supervision. So looking through this, we saw that the opportunities to address that. One of the things is flexible room for 100 to 150 participants. But then it says round tables with 6 to 8 tables or 6 to 8 chairs per table. And then it says Pilates and yoga mats. And I'm like, how big is this ring that it thinks we have? What is it doing? And then there's a projection system for slides. But then there's a small portable sound system for meditation audio. And I was like, wait, but we already have, but is the sound system attached to the projecting system? Or so, yeah, you can kind of see where this is going. It's a great starting point.
And that's the keyword here, right? So going back to the frameworks that we have presented in the beginning, this is where we bring the knowledge that we have as event professionals into play. This is where we bring those frameworks and then we analyze it and we look at it and we can start thinking, how can we make this work? And if I were to look at this and just code, I suppose I just don't know if that would be the best session or the best agenda. But what I could do is maybe enhance it a little bit. Maybe add some of my thoughts into the question and here in the because, well, I'm not so sure about this 75-minute long wellness session. That just sounds a little extreme, and I don't think we're going to have the ability to fit that in the agenda. What else can we do, right? And then you start interacting with AI, get a balance, a better understanding of how can we put this into practice without, tiring our attendees in this very well-intended session. But if it was just AI generating, probably wouldn't be the best. So we kind of few things, and then we came up with this profile. And then we decided that, okay, the best approach is AI plus human. That's where you get the best output, right?
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is that it did bold some things. I love the fact that there's a certification folded here. There was the other thing that if you want to induce instant anxiety into your attendees, even though it's good anxiety, do this one, which is the designated device drop basket. Watch people freak out if they have to like leave their phone at the back of the room before they go sit down. Wild how crazy attached we are. But the thing is, it's not an end all be all, but there's a lot of great suggestions that you can pick and choose from. So I think we can jump into the next one because we have about 10, 12 minutes left.
So the next one that we're going to jump into is, so this is the overview that I just talked about. It's going to be the healthy catering hydration. We're going to run it on exactly the same conference, and then we're going to run it on the numbers that we mentioned earlier, that this is what we want to get the output from. So I'll go back to my prompt, which I already ran, and it's going to be right here. So again, same conference. And then first thing that came up is this, actually, I don't even know if I have that one prompt. I think we adjusted the budget. This is what at first, what did we have at first? Sometimes I remember.
Yeah, we put in like 250,000 and we just went with the same budget for food and beverage because we thought it was over the course of 3 days, and it said per attendee, and it came back
0.5.
Said that's not enough money.
Yeah.
And we were like, wait, what? And then we were able to figure out that the per attendee wasn't actually per attendee per day. It was like per attendee over the course of the entire event. So it's still, you learn while it learns. We get to learn together. It's group learning with a robot. But the good thing is there were a number of positives that came out with this dietary accommodation. I just was building a reg form the other day and I was like, oh, I don't remember what I'm supposed to put in for dietary restrictions. I asked it, it gave me a list, copy, paste, great, super handy, right? Especially because there's some new things. Like, has anybody heard of a reducitaria? So this just came out in it was either the Global Wellness Institute or McKinsey, but there's this new term where people only eat meat and or dairy on special occasions, be it for ethical reasons or just they're trying to control their intake, but they only eat it in special occasions. So there's reducitarian. So now you can add that to all the different things. But the other thing I really love is the fact that there is a all-day hydration strategy. That's another good one. And then it also broke down the meals one by one by one by one.
So while you're here, obviously you can interact with this settings. Yeah.
Scroll back up if you don't mind. One of the other things is we did notice the breakfast. One of the things is the importance of protein. I talked about ADD, ADHD, and how protein can impact that. It was a little like it offered a tofu scramble, which I was like, okay. And then here's where every single AI struggles with wellness. Plant-based does not always equal healthy. Just because especially if it's like faux meat, like the Impossible Burger, if you look at how many saturated fat there is in Impossible Burger, it's actually awful for you. You should just not eat it. Or if you can't eat meat, you should be eating like a grass-fed burger over an Impossible Burger because the macro and micronutrients are actually better for you and better for your cardiovascular health. But some of those things, AI will sometimes get caught up on trends and lose focus of facts.
Yeah. One thing I want to say here, if you have past data on your company, let's say you went this program in the previous years, and you have a bit of information on your attendees on their specifics, those things, knowing that this is my audience, to generate an impression that is very costly, this one for these numbers.
Sorry, last thing. The other thing is the break. The break is pretty much all carbs. It's whole fruit, banana, apples, granola bars. Granola bars are pretty much all carbs. And then there is some individual Greek yogurt that cups. Now, my question is that plain Greek yogurt? Is that unsweetened Greek yogurt? Is there,
no.
What would be great if that Greek yogurt and a build your own parfait with sweetened. Wait, so like it's a great start and it's super close. You just have to tweak it a little bit and teach it.
Yeah. Yeah, so different options. We had actually on that we ran, and it was like, it's $0.25 per attendee. There's no way you're building anything with this budget. Can you please increase your budget? So that's why we went back into the numbers. Like, about the task began, we actually did figure out the math. The math does the line. Here, kind of gives you an idea like of the possibilities, hopefully, and how far you could take it even from here if this was the starting point. So the next one I want to touch on is, let's see. So we talked about this, highlighted that. Oh yeah, the scan column. If you want to get this slide, if it's in a couple, this would be a do so.
She's pulling up a phone.
If not, I'll have it at the end. So we'll just move on. Okay, movement and break scheduler. So this is where we really wanted to see what is the AI contribution into it. Why is it? This is the cool part about this segment. We actually went onto the convenience reader's website and we took the URL of their agenda and we just pasted it in there because we couldn't download it, right? This is a conference that we only see the front page of. And we decided that we're also going to do the same thing with the venue. There is venue specific information that AI can pull from the website. So we pasted the links. We dropped the audience size, and then we wanted to see what are some of the recommendations for this particular conference at this particular venue. How would they be? So you want to break this down?
Yeah, we were excited about this because uploading an agenda, et cetera, can be challenging. So the fact that we could drop URLs in there, awesome. Then what it did is it went and read the agenda, then came back and made a bunch of suggestions. There was like a 15-minute in between the opening keynote and morning breakouts. There was another 10-minute mid-morning mindfulness moment that was between breakout sessions, lunch period enhancement, which all seemed really great to start with.
Yeah.
Then we did an audit on the times.
And we went back to agenda and we looked it up and we wanted to put it side by side. If this is the AI generated version of a movement, does it fit in the actual agenda of the event? And we realized that there's actually some discrepancies. And one of the things was like, if you go to that one particular agenda, you would see that we are dropping the stretch right over the keynote, just 15 minutes pushing it into the keynote. Or we are actually planning this mindfulness event over another activity, or we are doing a walking circuit during lunch. So it was just a matter of like 15, 20 minutes difference. So it wasn't huge. That's why I think the AI needs the human supervision, because you could generate it, send it out and like job done, like, right? But that's not what we want. All we want is to make sure that we can QC the work of AI so that it really fits within the scope of what we're trying to do here.
We have just about 2 minutes left. So I think what we can do is we can jump into the last section here, which was the, let's see. So this is, all right. So the activity curator.
Yeah.
So this gives us a bunch of different ideas based on what you're looking to accomplish, how you're trying to bring people in. The idea is ensuring that these are collaborative things and that you drive engagement with them. The whole point of offering wellness is to make things stickier and to help enhance that participant experience. So that's why the prompt in here and the outcome of making this initiative is so important.
Yeah. So this was basically the screenshot of running the prompt within Spark and same conference, and it gave us the suggestions and it gave us some options. And again, this for size sounds amazing, but we did have to go and QC, is this pricey, right? Especially since we already have actual information. It's a Tulsa and it's for this many people. Does that budget actually quantify? Does the math when it comes to it? And because we have both worked with specific vendors and practitioners in Tulsa, some of those things we knew right off the bat, it's not going to be accurate. We really want to make sure that we look at it as a starting point. This is a great suggestion, but I wouldn't take that estimated cost and say, this is what I'm going to give it to my client because it's proof check. Probably that would not be very smart because you might get yourself into some problems.
Yeah, $7,000 for a hydration station. My question is that plus? Is that inclusive? Is that inclusive or exclusive? The other thing that's nice though is the guided meditation and mindfulness rates. It's quoted $10,000. That's a great sponsorship cost, but it's not going to be your cost. The operating cost to hire and put all those things in place is $10,000, but at least you know what you could charge for it, because if they go look it up, it's going to tell them $10,000. So you're good. So what's really nice is it does give you your setup notes, tells you how much staffing you're going to need. And it gives you a lot of different ideas on where you could start, especially like the virtual reality one, mostly because we have a partnership with a company called Novobeam that specializes in VR relaxation.
Yeah. Okay. So takeaways as we're wrapping this up. Definitely on your own time, I would dive in and see how you can apply it to your events, to your planning, to your clients. And I will start with Spark for inspiration, right? All of those AI generated ideas, they can be your foundation and then take it further from there. There's a lot of brainstorming that can be done with Spark, and I would 100% encourage that you try it out. But then always layer that human context on top of it, because you have all the knowledge of the years that you've planned events. Let that be put to good use when it comes to AI, because AI wants to know everything. Yes, it's been trained on a comprehensive data set, but at the end of the day, there's certain context, things that only you know as the planner. And then align it with the things and the frameworks that we have talked about, and see if that improves the outcome and the output of what you're getting in the first place. And with that, I think, yeah, this was just a funny example. We're running out of time where we asked AI to generate ideas, and he said yoga and me. I'm like, oh, amazing. That's all good. Why not? Thank you.